There, I was able to compete in the divisional school press conference, and I was able to get ninth place overall in column writing. And shortly after that, I became the editor-in-chief of the Beacon, which is now Wessel's school publication. So I hope you can learn a lot from me. I know I'm young, but I feel like the credentials speak for itself.
So, if you're going to notice about Kuya Alexander's journey, kung papansin nyo, he started being a picture writer lang. So, sa mga ibang writers po dyan, pwede nyo continue yung passion nyo for journalism. Kaya, maging ganito rin po. At sa kanya, magiging editor-in-chief.
Sige, start na para time natin.
So today I'm going to teach you, well, the very basics of campus journalism. So before we start, can everyone give me one word to describe journalism? Let's start from just one word. Okay. Just one word. Don't be scared.
How about informative?
Yep. Informative. Next. Just one word. One simple word. No wrong answers. By the law. And now magazines evolved from scholarly journals to opinion platforms in the 19th century. So in the 19th century, we got past that censorship and basically we were given freedom to write whatever we want. Hence the opinion articles. This is where editorials started and where we could really speak out our mind in journalism. And now news agencies emerge to facilitate global reporting. We have things like Rappler, the Philippine Star, and we can access them through the internet. So now what makes a good journalist? So journalists needs to be critical thinkers. They need to think outside the box. They need to look at different angles in terms of stories in order to produce a good paper. They're curious. So as journalists, we need to have the passion and we need to be curious about certain topics in order to excel in them. And overall, being curious also makes us better writers because we really want to get down to the nitty-gritty of what we're writing. And objective. So as journalists, we need to be unbiased. Unless, well, few exceptions with editorial articles where we can share our opinion, we need to be completely fair and unbiased. So, and we also need to be ethical in terms of what we write. Yeah, like I said, ethical. We always need to have consent and write from a place that is constructive rather than obstruct. And we need to be quick. When I was in grade 7, the time limit on articles was 15 minutes. We had to write in 15 minutes and publish it as a tool to help us, to help guide our writing. So instead of prompting it to write us an article, why not, if we're facing a complex issue, why not ask AI to break it down? So instead of asking it to write your article for you, tell it to explain an issue further so that you could write better and understand the issue at hand better. And versatile. Just because let's say you're a photojournalist, oh, I'm a photojournalist, I shouldn't be writing news articles because my focus is photojournalism. No, everyone needs to learn at least the very basics of writing, and that goes to as well as writers. You can't just be writers, you need to be cartoonists, you need to be photojournalists, so that when your team is lacking something, you can fill in that role immediately. And original. Plagiarism is a big no-no in journalism. We need to be original. So when we're using sources, we need to credit it. And let's say we use AI, we need to get that display that information without blatantly plagiarizing or just use it as inspiration. And for the categories, we have editorial writing, feature sports writing, column writing, science and health journalism, photojournalism, radio broadcasting, editorial cartooning, and layout editing. So I'm not going to be discussing all of this, but I'm going to be discussing the fundamentals, which is some of this. So we answered here some of the WH questions, except I didn't answer why. And that leads us to the nutshell paragraph. So the songstress stated in a Zach Sang interview that this album was not planned and that she was opposed to releasing music before the launch of Wicked the movie. However, due to the recent strikes in Hollywood, she decided to work on music with fellow producer Max Martin. After this string of productivity, she was willing to share her work with the girl, stating it organically happened. Fans were ecstatic to hear the news of the new album after waiting for 3 years since the release of her 6th studio album, Positions. However, the public still has mixed feelings towards the pop star due to her controversy for allegedly wrecking the marriage of Ethan Slater and DJ. In the same interview with Zach Sang, she responds by expressing that the criticism stemmed from a place of misogyny and that the press is willing to exploit words and experiences to create a good story. So this is the nutshell paragraph, and it talks about why this topic happened, or which is why she released a new album. And for the conclusion, despite these criticisms, Ariana has pushed through with the release of her album. She's delighted to share her work with her fans and show a more human side of herself. Basically, we shortened and reiterated the nutshell paragraph and the lead, which was the activity. Write a lead and headline about the given scenario in 10 minutes. Be ready to share your work. So this is I'm gonna read it out loud. So it's very lengthy, it can be very lengthy, and it really goes in depth. So for the components, the headline, a brief and attention-grabbing summary of the news story or article, basically the same as a news article, except for the feature article, it has to be more catchy. You need a hook in order to reel in readers. For the lead, opening paragraph or section of an article that serves to summarize the most important information and draw the reader into the story must include your angle and hook. So there are two leads in a feature article, the first lead and the secondary lead. So basically, these give context to your topic, and you have to have your angle and your hook. Basically, your angle is your perspective and how you tackle a topic. And it has to be a fresh perspective. You can't be generic. You have to do something that I guess hasn't been done before, but it's kind of impossible to do something that hasn't already been done before. But just try to make it as not as predictable. And then the body, the bulk of the text, which presents the idea, include at least one quote. So if the lead is looking at the topic through the naked human eye, so the body is like looking at the topic through a microscope or a magnifying glass. You need to basically tell more about your topic. If the lead is just the overall context of the topic, you need to go in depth. Like you need to get to the nitty-gritty of the topic, provide sufficient information, provide sufficient quotations from different people regarding the topic. And then lastly, the conclusion. Last paragraph that aims to summarize and leave lasting impressions. So, like I said before with the news article, you need to make the conclusion that memorable because it's the last thing people read and the first thing that they remember. So this is an example of feature article. I won't be reading it all because it's very lengthy. So basically, I'm just gonna go as quick as possible. So community role fits Mr. Optimism. Alan Jamir serves diverse organizations with a smile. So right off the bat, this is already a good title. It fits the context within the topic, and also it's very catchy. It hooks you in, and it's very specific, but it gives enough context for the readers. So here's the lead and the secondary lead. It's a good thing Alan Jamir was blessed with a big, bright smile because the man people call Mr. Optimism is seldom without one. Jamir spreads sunshine wherever he goes, based on an unflappable attitude rooted in his beloved optimist organization's positive creed, Jamir, as he's known from the mispronunciation of his last name, correctly, Hamir, is involved with no less than 9 different organizations. So this gives like the basic context of who our article is about. So in this case, it's Alan Hamir. And now, the next following paragraphs is the body. And this is like this is 12 paragraphs long, the body. And basically, it gives more context on what he did for others and provided sufficient quotations from interview from different people whose lives he has had impact on. And the outro, if I can do something that makes people move forward positively, then I feel I've done my job. So basically, the outro is a quote from him, which you can use. It's not really, I don't really advise it. I prefer going more in depth or summarizing just the important parts, but it's still something you can. Okay, so some tips for writing, like news writing, have a strong, catchy headline. You can be more creative with this. If in news writing, you have to give the complete context. It's okay to leave some of the context out as long as it's catchy and it hooks the readers in. Have a unique angle. Like I said, you have to bring something fresh. You have to think outside of the box when tackling your topic. You can't just say, oh, in a president's life, you're just gonna interview the president directly. Why not, instead of interviewing him, interview the people he has impacted and base the article about that instead of directly asking the president himself what he's done. And use storytelling. So, like I said, feature articles focus more on humans, the humanities, and basically you need to use storytelling for it to be compelling. And use articles, like I said, it's very quick, precise, and you can't like tiptoe around the topic. You have to go directly at the topic. But for feature writing, you need to have the peaks and the valleys. You need to have facts while exploring the more human side of things. And this is what news writing lacks, the human side. And like I said, it focuses on human interest. So through storytelling, you get to explore the human interest more instead of looking at it as a subjective standpoint. And utilize interviews. So for feature writing, you need at least one quotation. I recommend at least having 5 for the story to be more plausible. And have a strong conclusion. Like I keep on repeating, it's the last thing people are gonna read and the first thing that they're gonna remember. So make sure to have a good closing statement. Like you know how beauty queens, when they're answering questions, they always have like a catchphrase at the end. You need to do that with feature writing. Okay, next, this is my expertise, editorial writing, and this is comparable to column writing. So if you're not an editor, it's okay. You can still learn a lot more about this because in general, it's just opinion pieces for columnists and editors. So editorial writing. So the purpose is to express the opinions, viewpoints, and perspectives of the publication's editorial board or individual writers on various topics, issues, or events. Again, only editors can make editorial, but everyone can make an opinion piece, and that would be in the columns. For the components, headline and title, a brief and attention-grabbing summary of the news story or article. So this is the most similar thing to an essay, basically. Sometimes what I like to do is convert my essays and repurpose them for editorial articles. Introduction. It grabs the reader's attention, introduces the topic or issue being discussed, states the main argument or thesis, and establishes the author's credibility. So basically, in the introduction, it's similar to a lead, except it's lengthier than editorial. The body, bulk of the text where the argument is presented and defended. So, like I said, it's very similar to an essay. Just think of it as writing an essay, and in the body, you have to defend